My name is Quinn Reyes, and the moment my father's hand connected with my chest and slammed me into the cream-colored wall of the Grand Magnolia Ballroom, shattering a decorative mirror behind me, while 200 wedding guests gasped in horror, I knew my life would never be the same. The glass cut into my shoulder blade, my sister's white dress blurred in my vision, and somewhere in that crowd of shocked faces, at least 3 phones were recording everything. Have you ever been publicly humiliated by the person who is supposed to protect you? Let me back up. 6 months before that wedding, I was living what I thought was a good life. Not perfect, but mine. I was 28, working as a financial analyst at a mid-sized investment firm in Seattle, dating a kind man named Marcus, and saving for a down payment on a condo. My younger sister Vanessa was planning her dream wedding to Derek Chen, a corporate lawyer whose family had money that made my parents suddenly very interested in appearing successful. My father, Robert Reyes, owned a struggling construction company. My mother, Linda, had spent 30 years perfecting the art of looking the other way. I'd always been the responsible one, the one who got scholarships, who paid her own way through college, who never asked for anything. Vanessa was the golden child, beautiful, charming, and completely dependent on our parents for everything from her luxury apartment to her car payments. I didn't resent her for it, not really. She was my sister, and I loved her, even when that love felt complicated and unequal. The trouble started when Vanessa asked me to be her maid of honor. I said yes, of course, because that's what you do. But then came the requests. The destination bachelorette party in Cabo, $2,000. The custom dress that had to be ordered from a specific designer, $800. The bridesmaid luncheons, the spa days, the endless showers. I was hemorrhaging money I'd saved for my future, but every time I tried to set a boundary, my mother would call. Don't be selfish, Quinn. This is your sister's special day. You only get married once. Except Vanessa had already been engaged twice before. But who was counting? I swallowed my frustration and kept writing checks. Marcus noticed. He asked me one night over Thai takeout why I was letting them bleed me dry. I told him it would be over soon, that family was complicated. He looked at me with those steady brown eyes and said, "There's a difference between being generous and being used." I should have listened. 3 weeks before the wedding, my father called me into his home office. This was unusual. Robert Reyes didn't do heart-to-hearts. He did pronouncements and expectations. I sat across from his desk, surrounded by photos of Vanessa in various stages of pageant-ready beauty, and waited. "I need a favor," he said, not looking up from his computer. The favor was $50,000. He explained it, calmly, matter-of-factly, like he was asking to borrow my car. His business was in trouble. A development deal had fallen through, and he needed bridge financing to avoid defaulting on several loans. The bank wouldn't help. He'd already mortgaged the house twice. If he didn't get the money within 2 weeks, he'd lose everything: the business, the house, his reputation. "You work in finance," he said. "You must have savings, investments." I did. $63,000, to be exact. 7 years of careful budgeting, skipped vacations, and secondhand furniture. My future in a high-yield savings account. "Dad, I can't just—" "You're going to let your family lose everything?" His voice went hard. "After everything we've done for you. We raised you, Quinn, fed you, paid for your braces. You didn't pay for college. I did. With scholarships and student loans, I'm still paying off." His face reddened. "Don't you dare talk to me about sacrifice. Your mother and I gave you life, and now, when we need you, you're going to turn your back on us?" The guilt was immediate and suffocating, exactly as he intended. I thought about my mother, about losing the house she'd lived in for 25 years. I thought about Vanessa's wedding being overshadowed by financial catastrophe. I thought about being the daughter who could have helped but didn't. "I'll need a contract," I said quietly. "A loan agreement, with interest and a repayment schedule." Something flickered across his face, Annoyance, maybe contempt, but he nodded. Of course. Professional. I'll have Derek draw something up. Derek, my sister's fiance, the lawyer. I should have known then that I was being maneuvered into a corner with no exit. The contract arrived 2 days later. It looked official enough. Derek's firm's letterhead, legal language about terms and conditions. The interest rate was low, just 3%, but there was a repayment schedule starting 6 months after signing. I read it 3 times, asked Marcus to look at it. He frowned, but said it seemed standard, though he still thought it was a bad idea. I transferred $50,000 to my father's business account on a gray Tuesday morning in March. My savings account balance dropped to $13,000. 7 years of my life gone in one transaction. But I told myself it was temporary. That family took care of each other. That my father would make good on his promise. He texted me one word. Received. Not thank you. Not I appreciate this. Just received. The wedding preparations continued at a frantic pace. Vanessa was stressed about centerpieces and seating charts, and whether the band knew the right version of At Last. My mother was stressed about out-of-town relatives and dietary restrictions. My father seemed suddenly relaxed, joking at the rehearsal dinner, picking up the tab for $1,000 meal like money had never been a problem at all. I tried to be happy for them. I smiled in the photos. I organized the bridesmaids. I gave a speech at the rehearsal that made people laugh and cry in the right places. But underneath it all, I felt hollow, like I'd sold something I could never get back. Marcus held my hand under the table. Just get through tomorrow, he whispered. Then it's done. But it wasn't done. The wedding day was beautiful. Late April sunshine, cherry blossoms framing the outdoor ceremony, Vanessa radiant in a dress that cost more than a year of rent. I stood next to her at the altar, holding her bouquet, watching her marry into a family whose wealth made my parents giddy with social aspiration. Derek was fine, nice enough, maybe a little cold, a little calculating, but Vanessa seemed happy, and that was supposed to be enough. The reception was at the Grand Magnolia, a renovated ballroom with crystal chandeliers and marble floors. Dinner was a 5-course affair. The champagne flowed. My father gave a speech about his little girl growing up, and he cried real tears, and people applauded his sensitivity. I wondered if anyone else could see through the performance. I was standing near the bar during the dancing, watching Vanessa and Derek sway to their first dance when my father approached. He had that looseness that came from too much scotch. His tie loosened, his face flushed. Hell of a party, he said. It's beautiful, I agreed. Your mother and I are thinking about taking a vacation, maybe Europe. We've been working so hard. Something cold settled in my stomach. That's nice, Dad. You should be happy for us, Quinn. Not everyone gets to see their daughter marry so well. I turned to look at him. I am happy. I'm also wondering about the repayment plan. 6 months from the loan date is September. I'll need to start planning my budget. His expression changed. The jovial father of the bride mask slipped, revealing something uglier underneath. Jesus Christ, Quinn, at your sister's wedding? You're really going to talk about money right now? You brought up a vacation to Europe, Dad. You're just being what you've always been. Selfish, calculating. You can't just give without expecting something back, can you? My pulse quickened. I gave you $50,000. I'm not expecting something back. I'm expecting what we agreed to, what you promised. I built a business from nothing. He hissed, stepping closer. I provided for this family. And the one time I needed help, you made me sign papers like I was some stranger off the street. Do you know how that felt? You asked me to. You said you wanted it professional. I said what I had to say to get you to help your own goddamn family. People were starting to notice. Conversations nearby quieted. Vanessa glanced over from the dance floor, her smile faltering. Dad, let's not do this here. You've always thought you were better than us, haven't you? With your fancy job and your college degree. Looking down on the people who sacrificed everything for you. I never... You want your money? His voice was rising now. loud enough that the music seemed to dim. You want to bleed your own father dry while he's celebrating his daughter's wedding? What kind of person does that? My mother appeared at his elbow, touching his arm. Robert, please. He shook her off. No, she needs to hear this. She needs to understand that some things matter more than money. Family matters, loyalty matters. But she doesn't get that, does she? She never has. I felt the eyes of 200 people on me. My sister had stopped dancing. The room had gone quiet except for my father's angry breathing. I just want what we agreed to, I said, and I hated how small my voice sounded. That's all. You want to know what I think? He was inches from my face now, and I could smell the alcohol on his breath. I think you should be ashamed. I think you're a disgrace to this family. I think— Stop it, I said, louder now. You asked me for help. I gave you everything I had. You promised to pay me back, and now you're acting like I'm the villain for expecting you to keep your word. Something in his face twisted. Rage or shame or some toxic combination of both. You ungrateful! He moved so fast I didn't have time to react. His hand shot out, palm flat against my chest, and he shoved me backward with enough force that I stumbled in my heels. My back hit the wall hard. I heard the crack of the decorative mirror shattering before I felt the glass cutting into my shoulder. Pain bloomed hot and sharp. I slid down the wall, landing hard on the marble floor. The room exploded in gasps and shouts. My mother screamed. Vanessa was suddenly there, her dress pooling around her as she knelt beside me. Blood was soaking through the back of my bridesmaid dress. I could feel it, warm and sticky. Quinn? Oh my God, Quinn! My father stood frozen, his face pale, his hand still outstretched like he couldn't believe what it had just done. Marcus pushed through the crowd, dropping to his knees beside me. Don't move! Someone call an ambulance! I looked up at all those faces. Some shocked, some scared, some recording on their phones with the detached fascination of people who'd stumbled onto something dramatic. My father, the devoted family man, had just assaulted his daughter at his other daughter's wedding. And they'd all seen it. Derek was trying to guide people away, saying something about giving us space. My mother was crying. Vanessa was apologizing over and over like she was the one who'd shattered the mirror with my body. But my father? He turned and walked toward the exit, his shoulders straight, like he was the injured party. The ambulance arrived. The paramedics picked glass from my skin and bandaged my shoulder. They wanted to take me to the hospital for stitches, but I refused. I just wanted to leave, to get away from the ruined reception and the whispers and my sister's mascara-streaked face. Marcus drove me home in silence. In my apartment, he helped me out of the blood-stained dress and into the shower, where I stood under hot water and cried for the first time that day. Not from pain, but from the sudden, devastating clarity that my family had never valued me the way I'd valued them. I'd been useful, a resource to be tapped when needed, and blamed when I asked for basic respect in return. The videos appeared online the next morning. Someone, multiple someones, had posted the footage to TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. The algorithm loved it. Public confrontation, family drama, violence at a wedding. It had everything. By noon, the video had 500,000 views. By evening, 2 million. Within 3 days, 5 million people had watched my father shove me into a wall. The comments were overwhelming, thousands of strangers weighing in on my family's dysfunction. Most were supportive, calling my father abusive, toxic, a narcissist. Some blamed me for bringing up money at a wedding. A few suggested it was staged. But the prevailing narrative was clear. I was the victim, and my father was a monster. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown numbers, journalists, people from high school I hadn't spoken to in a decade. My mother called 16 times. Vanessa texted me apologies interspersed with pleas to make it go away somehow. My father didn't contact me at all. I turned off my phone and sat in my apartment with Marcus, watching my private pain become public entertainment. Part of me was horrified, but another part, a part I didn't know existed, was satisfied. The truth was out there now, undeniable and documented. My father couldn't rewrite this story. He couldn't make himself the victim. On day 4, my mother showed up at my apartment. She looked like she'd aged 10 years, gray roots showing, no makeup, her clothes rumpled. Marcus let her in but stayed in the room, a silent guardian. "You need to tell people it was an accident," she said without preamble. "Tell them you tripped, that your father tried to catch you and it looked worse than it was." I stared at her. "Mom, there are videos from multiple angles." "Then say it was taken out of context. Say you'd been fighting and tensions were high, but that you're fine now, that we're working it out as a family." "Why would I lie?" Her face crumpled. "Because you're destroying us, Quinn. Your father's lost 3 contracts because of this. People are calling him abusive. His reputation is ruined. Vanessa's in-laws are reconsidering the marriage. Derek's father is a superior court judge. They can't have this kind of scandal attached to their family." "So this is my fault?" "I didn't say that." "Yes, you did. You just did." I stood up, my shoulder aching under the bandages. "Dad assaulted me in front of 200 people because I had the audacity to ask about money he owes me. And now you want me to lie about it to protect him?" "He's your father?" "He's a man who used me and then tried to destroy me when I asked for basic decency." My mother's eyes hardened. "You always thought you were so much better than us. So independent, so smart. But you know what you are, Quinn? You're vindictive. You could stop this, delete the videos, make a statement. But you won't, because you want to punish him." "I didn't post those videos, Mom. Other people did. The truth got out, and that's not my fault." "If you loved your family, you'd protect us." Marcus stepped forward. "I think it's time for you to leave, Mrs. Reyes." My mother looked at him with contempt, then back at me. "Don't come crawling back when you realize you've thrown away your whole family over money." She left. I didn't cry this time. I just felt empty. But something shifted in me that day. I realized I'd spent my entire life trying to earn love from people who only valued what I could provide. And now that I'd stopped providing, they discarded me without hesitation. The betrayal wasn't new. It had been happening for years. I'd just been too invested in the fantasy of family to see it. I hired a lawyer. His name was James Park, a friend of Marcus's from law school who specialized in contract disputes and family law. I showed him the loan agreement Derek had drafted. He read it carefully, then looked up at me with something like pity. "This contract is garbage," he said. "Legally binding, but ethically questionable. The terms are deliberately vague. There's no collateral specified, no clear penalties for non-payment. Derek wrote this knowing your father would never intend to pay you back. Can I sue?" "You can. But here's what you need to understand. Your father's business is failing. Even if you win a judgment, you'll be fighting for money he probably doesn't have. It'll be expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally brutal. Your family will hate you even more than they already do." "They already hate me." James nodded slowly. "Then let's make sure you get what you're owed." We filed a civil lawsuit for breach of contract, seeking the $50,000 plus interest and legal fees. My father's response came through Derek, who sent a formal letter stating that the loan had been a family gift, mischaracterized as a business transaction, and that I was attempting to extort money from my own father during a difficult time. The audacity was breathtaking. But I had the contract with Derek's signature on it. I had bank records showing the transfer labeled as a business loan. I had text messages where my father explicitly discussed repayment terms. And I had something even better. I had the video of him assaulting me at the wedding, which established a pattern of aggressive, controlling behavior when confronted with accountability. The case went to mediation. My father showed up in a suit, playing the beleaguered businessman being attacked by his ungrateful daughter. His lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive and greedy. But James was prepared. He presented the evidence methodically, clinically, until there was no room for interpretation. The mediator, a 60-year-old woman who'd probably seen every flavor of family dysfunction, listened to both sides and then rendered her recommendation. My father owed me $50,000 plus $8,000 in interest and legal fees. He had 6 months to pay or face a court judgment and potential liens on his assets. My father's face went purple. He started to argue, but his lawyer put a hand on his arm and whispered something urgent. Finally, he signed the agreement. Not because he wanted to, but because the alternative was worse. Outside the mediation office, he approached me one last time. My mother stood beside him, her face blank. "I hope you're happy," he said. "You've torn this family apart." "No," I said, and my voice was steady. "You did that when you decided I was only worth what I could give you. We're done. You're not my daughter anymore." Something I'd been carrying for years. Some desperate hope that he'd finally see me, finally apologize, finally love me the way I'd always wanted, finally died. And in its place was something lighter. Relief. "Okay," I said. "We're done." They walked away. I watched them go and felt nothing but a strange, weightless peace. The money came in installments. My father sold assets, downsized the business, moved to a smaller house. My mother sent me one email saying I'd destroyed them and that she hoped I could live with myself. Vanessa tried to stay neutral, but eventually stopped responding to my messages. Derek's family did indeed reconsider the marriage. Not because of the scandal, but because my father's financial situation made the Reyes family significantly less attractive as in-laws. The marriage survived, but Vanessa was iced out of the kind of social circle she'd been so desperate to join. I felt bad about that for exactly one day. Marcus and I got engaged 6 months later. Not because of the drama, but in spite of it. He'd seen me at my worst and stayed. That meant something. The viral video eventually faded from the internet's collective memory, replaced by newer scandals and fresher drama. But it had served its purpose. The truth was out there, documented and undeniable. My father couldn't rewrite history or play the victim. People who knew us saw what had happened. Some reached out with their own stories of family betrayal. Others just watched and moved on. I took the recovered money and made the down payment on my condo. Marcus and I moved in together, filled it with secondhand furniture and plants, and built a life that felt honest and ours. I started therapy to unpack 30 years of complicated family dynamics. It was hard work, painful work, but necessary. A year after the wedding, I ran into Vanessa at a grocery store. We stood in the produce section, both pretending to examine avocados, neither of us knowing what to say. Finally, she spoke. "I'm sorry for what he did, for not standing up for you." "Thank you," I said. And then, because I needed her to understand, "But sorry doesn't undo it. You all made a choice about what mattered more, keeping Dad happy or treating me with basic respect. You chose him. He's our father. Being a father isn't just biology, Vanessa. It's action, it's protection, it's love that doesn't come with conditions and price tags." She had tears in her eyes. "I miss you. I miss who I thought you were," I said gently. "But I don't miss the version of myself I had to be around all of you." We didn't hug. We just stood there for another moment. And then she walked away with her cart, and I walked away with mine, and it felt like the ending we both needed. My father never apologized. He never acknowledged what he'd done. According to mutual acquaintances, he still tells people I'm the problem, that I ruined the family over money, that he was the victim of his daughter's greed. The narrative he's constructed allows him to sleep at night, I suppose. But I don't need his apology anymore. I don't need his acknowledgement or his love or his version of events. I know what happened. So do 5 million other people. The glass scars on my shoulder healed into thin white lines. Sometimes I catch sight of them in the mirror and remember that night, the shock of impact, the pain, The moment everything changed, but they don't hurt anymore. If anything, they remind me of what I survived, what I walked away from, and what I built in the aftermath. Marcus and I got married 2 years later, in a small ceremony with 40 people we actually loved. No expensive bridesmaids, no $1,000 meals, no expectations beyond showing up with love. My father wasn't invited. Neither was my mother. Vanessa sent a card but didn't attend, and the absence of them didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It just felt honest. I built a different kind of family. Friends who showed up, a partner who valued me, colleagues who respected me, a therapist who helped me understand that being used wasn't the same as being loved. It was smaller than what I'd imagined, but it was real. And real turned out to be so much better than the performance I'd been living. People still ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled it differently, kept the peace, sacrificed my dignity to preserve the illusion of family. The answer is simple. I regret the years I spent believing that love meant enduring mistreatment. I regret the money I gave, thinking it would buy me value in their eyes. I regret every time I made myself smaller to make them comfortable. But walking away, demanding what I was owed, refusing to lie to protect people who'd never protected me, I don't regret that for a second. The video is still out there somewhere, archived in the infinite memory of the internet. Sometimes I wonder if it'll follow me forever, if decades from now someone will stumble across it and judge me for things they don't understand. But mostly, I don't think about it. It's evidence of something that happened, something true, and the truth doesn't need my anxiety to remain valid. I work at a different firm now, one where I'm valued not for what I can provide, but for what I contribute. I've rebuilt my savings, slowly, carefully, with boundaries I never learned to set before. I have a life that feels like mine, not a performance for people who'll never be satisfied. And I have peace, the kind that comes from knowing you chose yourself when choosing yourself felt impossible. My father never paid the full amount, by the way. He paid $48,000 before defaulting, and James advised me to let the rest go. Fighting for the remaining $10,000 would cost more than it was worth, both financially and emotionally. So I let it go, not as forgiveness, but as acceptance. Some people will never give you what they owe you, no matter how just your claim. The freedom comes from stopping the chase. On quiet nights, when Marcus is asleep beside me and the city lights filter through our bedroom window, I think about that moment at the wedding, the shock on everyone's faces, the glass shattering, the blood on my dress. And I think about the choice I made in the aftermath, not to hide, not to minimize, not to protect the people who'd failed to protect me, but to stand in the truth of what happened and refuse to carry their shame. That choice changed everything. Not immediately, not easily, but permanently. Because here's what I learned. Betrayal by strangers is painful, but betrayal by family is devastating, precisely because we've been taught that family is supposed to be safe. We're told that blood is thicker than water, that family comes first, that you forgive and forget, because that's what love requires. But sometimes love requires something harder. It requires recognizing when the cost of staying is higher than the cost of leaving. The people who truly love you don't make you beg for basic respect. They don't weaponize your generosity. They don't rewrite history to make you the villain in a story where you were only ever trying to help. Real love doesn't demand that you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I'm 32 now. I have a life I built from the ruins of the one I thought I wanted. It's not perfect. Nothing is. But it's honest. And after years of living in performance, honesty feels like the most radical form of love I can give myself. Sometimes people recognize me from the video. They ask if I'm that girl from the wedding. I used to feel embarrassed, exposed. Now I just say yes, because it's true. I am that girl, the one who got pushed into a wall and got back up, the one who demanded what she was owed, the one who chose dignity over the comfortable lie of family harmony. And I'm not sorry about it. The best revenge I've learned isn't destruction. It's not making them hurt the way they hurt you. The best revenge is building a life so honest and whole that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. It's finding peace in a small apartment with someone who sees you as more than what you can provide. It's waking up without the weight of performing for people who'll never be satisfied. It's the quiet satisfaction of knowing you chose yourself when choosing yourself took everything you had. My name is Quinn Reyes, and I don't need my father's love anymore because I finally learned to give it to myself. You don't owe loyalty to people who treat your heart like a transaction. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to carry their shame.